Hey everyone, it is December 1st. I haven't been home in exactly 2 weeks. I let these machines run for 2 weeks, and as soon as the grit is completely worn down, it kind of stops doing it. Just the rocks banging against each other, that's not going to do anything really. Stuff like that takes decades or centuries out in the wild, but with these machines tumbling and the grit's completely worn down, it's really not doing anything. But I left them running for 2 weeks, and I hear a slight little this belt needs some more belt dressing, it needs some service. Let's shut that off. These are on step 3, so that's our big piece of amethyst in there and our Cape Cod rocks. They are about to start up on step 4, but I think tonight we're gonna let them run overnight with no grit, just some dish soap. A lot of people do that when they're rock tumbling. I want to give that a try in the polishing stages to see if it helps not have anything abrasive from step 3 possibly go over. Now I just noticed this off the bat. This is super shiny. That was not like that when I was here 2 weeks ago. See that right there? Got some bare metal right there. That never even occurred to me that these rollers are made of metal with a thin plastic layer. See that? The thin plastic layer there, the red is wearing down. I don't see that as a huge problem right now, but long term, metal on metal could cause some problems here. So, what could we do to combat that? The other one too, it's also worn through. No, it did not actually. But I've been running this machine for a couple months and it was never shiny like this. No, those are actually plastic all the way through. If I lick my finger, that actually comes right off. That is just aluminum leaving traces behind actually. I also see right there, it hasn't done that before, which is odd. It's been running 2 months and I've never noticed that. Wearing down the end right here. That's also new. I still can't explain the damage it came with because I got this machine half price used on eBay. Anyways, the really cheap one here, that was $60 at Harbor Freight. I oiled, lubricated everything before I left. How is it holding up? It's been now functioning for nearly a month. I do see that wear and tear right there. See that? Anyways, it doesn't get very hot. We'll be sure to lubricate everything again before we get it going. I do think for 60 bucks it'll be a good machine because comparably, this Lubricating machine, the professional grade one here, brand new, would be about $300. I got it on eBay, new in the box, for just over $100. Oil is key. See, I just need to wipe that up. I over-oiled it. But over-oiling it is better than under-oiling it. Dirty, oily machine is a happy machine. We're also gonna start this one back up. I shut that one down because I knew I'd be gone longer than it's 9 days. After 9 days, the computer will shut this thing off, and many people told me to bypass the circuit board, and here's a couple of thoughts of why I haven't done that. So there's many videos of other people, they'll bypass this completely, just cut off the circuit board and they'll put a switch over here. Or I was thinking, why do you even need a switch? Like my big tumbler here, you just plug it in the wall and it's running. I got a switch up there on the power strip, so we'll just have it where you plug it in the wall, if anything. But that being said, without the circuit board, who's to say that this thing's gonna run on its slowest speed? Many people say this thing runs faster than it should on its slowest speed. But who's to say it's gonna be running at its slowest speed if you bypass the circuit board? That's one of the big reasons I'm not doing it. And there are pros and cons, like, for example, I had a power outage and I got very lucky. I didn't come back to any machines damaged. So the compound in these things, when the rocks are grinding, it creates a slurry where sometimes, depending on the type of rocks and depending what stage it is, because some stages it's more than others, that can harden like concrete. When the machine starts running again, it can go whoomp, 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 and it might just never loosen up again, and that could ruin the motors. Because I had this one shut off once because I got home a day too late, and when I turned it on, I was going whoomp, whoomp. So maybe it's a good thing that if the power does go out, this thing stays off. But I got notifications from my power company that my power went out, and I think the power did actually go off when I was gone like a month ago because the doorbell camera, I couldn't see through it, so that's an indication the power was probably off. And that being said, I came back, everything was perfect. Everything was still running perfectly fine. No issues at all with it hardening and having any problems. But those are just some thoughts there. Belt dressing is a great thing. I find it actually very necessary because belts will shred. You see that right there? That's shredding rubber. The belt, it's coming out of the belt guard. Belt dressing is the opposite of oil. It makes it very sticky so it grips better onto the pulleys. And now you just heard that. It's slipping a little bit. But it's still on the belt it came with from the previous owner. I got 2 extras in case it goes, but we'll take a look at its well-being today. We'll open that up, have a look. But right now I'm gonna go out in the yard. It's starting to get dark. It's chilly. We got a half a foot of snow out there. I'm gonna bring all these out, rinse them off, bring them back in the basement, and I'll show you the results. So these ones here are gonna be going on to today, I believe, step 2. I'm gonna have to look back. And they will start step 2 today. This will start step 4 tomorrow because I'd like to wash them overnight at least with some dish soap like a lot of people like to do. And yeah, I thought ahead years ago when I bought this place. It was an auction house, got it for 1/10 the price because many things were damaged. I had to do the plumbing and everything over because the bank that foreclosed on the last owner didn't winterize it. They put winterizing labels on the toilets and everything because they poured antifreeze in them, but they didn't winterize the actual pressurized parts of the plumbing. But anyways, when I got to re-plumb everything, I put hot water outside, which is a miracle for days like today. It's way below freezing. Frost-proof faucet means when you're turning the knob outside, there's a rod. The valve is actually in the house. And when you shut it off, it drains and never freezes. The hose can freeze on the other hand, so the hose, you gotta make sure you stretch it out and drain out every drop or it's gonna not work. Or you can just bring it in the house, which I'm probably gonna do. But that is a miracle when you have to do stuff, clean stuff. And sometimes if I'm cooking in the kitchen, I have something very super nasty and greasy, I'm not gonna put that down my drain. So I'll go outside, I'll spray off disgusting greasy things in the yard. I don't want that in my septic or my plumbing. So that's come in handy for many purposes. Also, if it's slightly above freezing, washing a car with warm water and a bucket of warm water, it just feels so much more amazing. And that extra hot water line of PEX only costs an extra $50 plus the valve. So that's probably 200 deep into that project. If you have an unfinished basement, that's something to definitely look into. Most new houses are actually being built with that now, and I can definitely see why. I actually did not get lucky today. Somewhere in this hose, even though I drained it, is enough water that puddled that it's frozen. Nothing's gonna come out. I tried flexing it like crazy, that sometimes works, but now we're just gonna steam it out with some hot water, using this kayak as a bin to collect the hot water. This kayak is actually covered in salt. I was using it in the ocean last week, so it's gotta be washed anyways. Success! There's still a little bit of ice clearly, but that's gonna melt through real fast. Today's high temperature was 20. It's in the evening right now, so it's a little bit colder today. Oh, there we go. Time to clean off our rocks now. Alright, so this is how I clean them off. Some of these are getting really pretty. Okay, in those 2 weeks I was gone, there must have been a power outage. Look at this, I've never actually seen this before. See how it's settled down on the bottom like that? That didn't get that hard in just being off 10 minutes. Look at that. It's so hard. Well, there must have been a short power outage because these were running when I got home, but that takes a long time to happen because I've seen what these things do after being off for only a day. There must have been a good power outage, but thankfully only a couple rocks were stuck to it and it didn't throw it off balance enough to damage anything, it looks like. Alright, we're back in the house before it got dark. This time of year it's now getting dark at like 4:30. And this belt, see, it has been shredding. That's from it slightly slipping. Look at that. You can also see it's almost time to replace it, but I think we'll get a little bit more time out of it. So I just put a little bit of dressing on the inside of the pulley where it needs to grip. You can also put some on the outside too, because that also helps it not dry rot. But that thing probably doesn't have a lot of life left in it. Turn it on. Good. Sometimes this stuff makes it so sticky that it will actually make the motor halt. Still making that noise. Last time it actually stopped making that noise. And you can see this time there's not much tension on it. Usually when I dress this thing up, it really kind of halts the motor for a moment. Then you got to kind of move it by your hand. Make sure it's aligned properly because you don't want it, the edge of the pulley also scraping it. Anyways, I think we can get a couple more rounds out of this before we replace that belt. I'll shut it off for now. So, these were on step 1 for the past 2 weeks, and they really did get some progress. Wow, look at that green. These are all the Lake Superior rocks. They came out really good. Some of these are beautiful. That's a piece of jade from BC. Step 1 actually it left some roughness on it. Maybe because it's banging against some of these other rocks that might be harder, and they're kind of leaving behind that whiteness, which is not part of that rock, which is interesting. I think they've been kind of rough on it, but hopefully that will go away, because now that we're gonna proceed all these into step 2 today, that means we're gonna add some of our beads to help cushion the rocks from each other. Step 1, I don't usually want to cushion them at all because we want them to be as abrasive as possible with each other, but I guess the jade is a little softer than some of these other rocks. Now these ones here, I'm just gonna put a little bit of dish soap and water in these ones and just run them overnight before we start step 4. Then we will determine, do we need to go 5, 6, 7, because I have all those really ultra fine grits. And some of these even have a little sheen to them. Look at that already, and you can see what's wet. But the dry part is even having a little sheen to it, so that's very promising. This might be petrified wood. I feel like it is. But some of these are turning out absolutely amazing. This was one of my favorites. It had that weird glob, which kind of got filed down. But I made sure to get good pictures of every one of these so we can compare them when they're fully polished from what they originally looked like. That looks really cool. Looks like it's got a capital A and that really cool pattern. And I think there's enough room in there. I want to have a couple of my finished rocks from another round go back in there. Like, look how glossy these look. And they are completely dry. Now some of them can be better. Like this one I really like. I really like this one too, but I feel like it could be better. So I want to see if we have any room to maybe throw these back in there for step 4, 5, 6, 7. If it, yeah, those fit in there, that's fine. We'll throw those back in there right now with the washing process, and because we're not putting any grits, tomorrow we can just rinse these off in the sink. But you could see today, that was a good example of why you never put the grits down your drain. You rinse them outside with a garden hose, and if you don't have an outdoor faucet in the winter that's freeze-proof, almost everyone has a faucet in their utility room. You can just hook it to that and bring it out there. Just make sure it's not the water heater drain, because if you have an older water heater and you haven't been doing maintenance, it could cause you some problems if you try to hook onto that. But I mean like a service tap, like a boiler valve. Like I got one of those in there. Actually, I have 2 of them in there. I got one right below my pressure tank and one below the filtration systems. But here, the amethyst. Look at that giant beauty. I hope these polish up nice. Going into the next steps. Got a couple of Lake Superior rocks in there. That's just, these ones right here were from our trip when we went to all 3 of the amethyst mines that are open to the public up there. Definitely recommend checking out all 3 if anyone ever takes the trip up there to Thunder Bay, Ontario, because they're all unique in their own way. One of them has these gigantic deep purples, and there's other mines that have the teeny little pieces, but there's reasons I would want both of them, so next year I might go to them all again. Now the Harbor Freight Tumbler did a great deal. This is one of my favorite rocks from our last trip up there. After 2 weeks in step 1, that looks amazing. I think we can start all these up on step 2. Look at that one. Get a little bit of wetness around there. I love this one. It's got gray, pink, white, green, all kinds of awesome stripes, and it's perfect egg-shaped. Love it. Got the square one, which didn't round off very much. Got lots of smaller ones that are very pretty. Now I found all of these. None of these are filler. Like, some of those are filler. They came with the rock tumbler, because that one's a kid's kit, but it was low end and cheap. That's why I got that in my little fleet of them. See how there's a good amount of extra room in these barrels? It's because I factored in all the beads we're going to be adding in. Look at this, looks like a rock saw one after that one. So we'll start these ones up again. And that actually did well. Maybe I should just start running them for 2 weeks. Less I got to do. These actually did very good for 2 weeks. So all 4 of these barrels today are going to get step 2. Step 2. And we're going to add some beads. These beads, look how shiny those are, because those just got pulled out of a step 7 batch. But ceramic beads can be reused. They can follow the rocks from step 1 all the way to finishing steps. Now some people say, and I might actually try this once we get into the fine steps of these ones, like, I mean, if we repeat step 4 and we think that's going to be it, or if we have to go to 7, I'm going to start adding plastic beads. The thing with plastic beads is the grit can get stuck in the beads. Then when you go to the next step, that more abrasive grit can fall out and start scratching your polished rocks. So these, it doesn't matter where it goes. These can follow it through all the stages. It's not going to trap grit like the plastic does. So if you use plastic for every single step, that means now that these are on step 3, I have to take all the plastic beads out and I have to put new ones. Now those plastic beads can only ever be used again for that step, if you know what I mean. So now we're going to add some of these as cushion in there. Probably 2 fistfuls in each. Touching these things, it's actually really satisfying because these are actually so smooth. I think we got Yeah, we got the perfect amount. I don't think we need to add anything right now. Just want to even them out. Good. Now we'll add step 2 and let these run for a while. And these ones we're just going to put a little bit of soap. But let me go ahead and we're going to start topping all these off with water. So we're going to go get some water in the other room. Okay. Oops. Just like that. Good. Come back over here, get more water. And grab the dish soap, which we're going to use today. So, you want them just where most of the rocks are underwater. Good. 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 And we will be starting this one back up again since I won't be home for the foreseeable future now. So we'll let that run again. We'll set that one back up with some of the rocks from the Vibratory one. I returned the Vibratory one for a multitude of reasons. It was a cheap Harbor Freight one. I just got to save up money and I need to get one that has a rubber barrel like these instead of that hard plastic one. Then it'll be super quiet. On top of a lot of reviews saying that that is going to crack that plastic barrel eventually. And it was overheating. It had horrible gaskets, so as the motor produced heat, it evaporated everything, turning the whole inside to concrete. And no, it's not because of my insulated sound barrier I was using. No, it overheated whether that was on or off. But I'll save up, and I have to get a better one that'll be like 3 times the price. It was also doing miniature burnouts on the floor. Harbor Freight tried to refuse returnal, saying, "Oh, it looks like you've been using this thing like crazy. There's no way you only use this for the month." And I was like, you literally see on the receipt, I bought this thing 3 weeks ago, and I was gone 2 weeks. I literally only functioned it for 1 week. It actually gets that messy after 1 week. The guy tried to refuse returnal, and I told him, no, I'm going to get a much better model. Then he called a guy up to the front saying, okay, this guy wants to exchange it for one of our better models. Can you show him what we got? And I'm like, no, that is your best model. I'm returning it, and I'm going somewhere else. They tried to give me BS as if they're the owner of that big chain company. Why do you care as a cashier that I'm returning something that's $130 after a promo code? Just ridiculous that they act like it's their store and their money. Okay, that's probably too much, but we'll open these back up tomorrow, clean them off, and put step 4. Gotta be like a monkey when I'm doing the camera. Let's tip that a little bit. Okay. 1. 1. 1. Making sure they're nice and level. 1. 2. 2. Not enough there. Okay, 2. And 2, and that should be enough. Then hopefully next time we open these up in a week or 2, they should be ready to go. Make sure I do this right. It doesn't really matter if I mismatch the parts, the barrels are the same, but the barrels from Harbor Freight are a bit cheaper. You can tell by looking at them. Okay. Yeah, Harbor Freight, see how they're much thinner? These ones you can't really flex, the good lower tone ones. So these are Harbor Freight. Yep. Am I giving those right? Yeah, I'm gonna need both hands to probably put those on. And these are Harbor Freight too, they're a bit thinner metal. All right, those are all ready to go again. I think this was wearing weird because this actually became loose, meaning this was tilted more than holding it, but I also will probably put a drip of oil there, and I'll close that back up. So this is everything that was in the vibratory tumbler. The vibratory tumbler destroyed a bit of that quartz vein. I found this when we were camping on Chamberlain Lake in Maine. Yeah. So what you're seeing there is iron out secreting out of the rock because it sat in iron out for a few days. Even after going through the tumbler, I guess it's still in there. So this is a type of rock, unlike the amethyst. Not going to use iron out again. This will probably just end up being thrown in the garden. But I did learn from that vibratory tumbler that I definitely do want to get a higher quality one. Despite the noise and issues it had, it did a very good job. It completed a lot in only a week of operation. It completed like a month's work in a week. But it also left a bunch of grit in some of these. These I just used to actually fill it up. Those are just cheap Home Depot rocks, like some of the other white ones we got up in that fish tank. It actually almost made another eye on our jack-o'-lantern rock, but I'm figuring out what I want to start back up in here. Do I think the vibratory tumbler even did the equivalent of step 1? Kinda. But some of these, like this one here, it's smooth at all the edges, but the middle is still very rough. Just the edges got it. And this one did a very good job. Jack-o'-lantern rock. This guy's gonna go again. This one actually went through everything. It went through stage 7 and we threw it back in the vibratory, so we'll use it again. The vibratory went to town on this one, actually kind of destroyed it, almost got rid of the black marks. People thought it was a piece of ceramic. I don't think it is. There was a lot of rocks on that beach that looked like that. These are Moosehead rocks, Moosehead Lake rocks. I kind of want to throw another big one in, but I really shouldn't. Need to make my mind up which big one should not go back in there. These rocks aren't the most pretty ones, but I want to do a batch of main rocks. These really aren't the prettiest rocks, and you're going back out in the garden. We're going to start you back up at step 1. I guess that's what we'll do. A lot of these I don't really like anymore, except this one. I do like this one. That's got to get thrown in another barrel at some point. But, alright, this is all that we're going to do. We're going to start this one up again right now on step 1. And today, because tomorrow we're expected to get 6 to 12 inches of snow on top of what we have. I was doing this in the area I shoveled, so it may not have looked like much. We got about 4 to 6 inches out there now. We got a big storm coming tonight. So I decided I need to do maintenance. I changed the coolant and the engine oil after just getting back from Florida, which I wasn't able to get any rocks down there. Every beach I went to in South Florida didn't have any rocks, just sand and shells. But today I was wondering, how did I get this? I thought I scraped myself, but now I'm seeing the rash forming up around it. It's a burn. I didn't even realize I burned myself really bad when I was changing my engine oil, because I changed my engine oil immediately after shutting the hot engine off, because that's best. And I must have accidentally touched the muffler without noticing. I touched something. I usually have my mechanic do my oil changes because he buys in such bulk, but things have changed where he started charging more. He used to charge me only $40 along with my other things I needed, but ever since he started change it to $70, I went to the store, and my car uses 0W20. I can get a container of that. I bought Mobile, which is $27 after taxes, and the filter's $7. Gasket's another 50 cents. Yeah, I'm gonna start doing it myself now, because it's, at this point in life, cheaper to do it now. I would never bring my car to like a Jiffy Lube, because they have broken multiple family members' cars. People that work at Jiffy Lube, I'm not saying they're all bad, but it's usually people that couldn't cut it as a mechanic. that get a job at a place like that. They broke my mom's dipstick off in the engine. They stripped her oil drain plug and put like JB Weld around it or some kind of thing and sent her on her way. And when she went to the dealer, they told her, and then Jiffy Lube, of course, is going to take no responsibility for that. So never go to a place like that. I also try not to go to the dealer, which is I have caught ripping me off, but sometimes you have to go to the dealer because things like transmission fluid literally have to have a specialized machine with all these modern cars. You can't not do that at home. You actually have to have them do services like that. Like I'm gonna have my transmission fluid changed next week, hoping to get more out of my car. I actually can't believe my car is still going. People always talk about how I abuse my car off-road, and they're right, and it just hit 403,000 miles and it's still going. I can't believe it. The dealer can't believe it either. He told me that car probably would have broke at 250,000. Okay, we're gonna get all this stuff going again now. Okay, now the belt dressing is showing what I was just telling you about. See, that's not good for the motor. You gotta make sure it stays going. Don't ever have a motor just sitting like that. Okay, it should be good now. And we're gonna plug you in, get you going too. Yep, go, nice. There we go. I also just realized when I was setting these up that this little tab can't even use it. See, it's supposed to be a little spacer. The Harbor Freight one is so cheap they use the tab that's too big. But that machine is definitely worth it for 60 bucks. This is also a $60 machine. When I put it in my Amazon cart, when I went to check out, they wanted 90 bucks, so I went to eBay and got it for the original price. Always cross-reference eBay and Amazon. Always a good thing to cross-reference both of them for anything. And then there's certain things like the belts for the big machine. Neither Amazon or eBay had them, so we actually had to, I don't know if it says, I had to go to some website, I think that, to actually buy those specialty belts for one of these machines anyways. I'm not sure. It's been a few months, completely forget. But we're gonna get that box out of here, throw that in the attic of the garage until we figure out what to use it for. Same with all those things I've been collecting. Get it all out of here. But I hope today's video is interesting, everyone. We'll make another video of the aquarium soon. So I was gone. This thing did a good job over 2 weeks when I was gone. Only complaint is if I have it only one notch, it gets clogged and doesn't feed them. So I had it on 2 notches, so it slightly overfed them. Now they're gonna go like half a week without food, and when they're nice and hungry, because it looks like since I've been gone we evaporated a couple inches, so the crayfish's favorite shallow area kind of dried up. But give it a couple days, when they're super hungry, we're gonna raise the water up here so everyone can eat all that nasty algae and stuff. Well, they got huge since I've been gone 2 weeks. All my feeder goldfish got quite huge, except that one guy we call the runt. He's not growing at all. So the big goldfish cost 10 bucks, also 10 bucks. I buy them as friends. They actually follow each other around usually, the big ones. They like each other. The small ones only cost 10 cents a piece because they're meant for feeders, but it's the same thing. But a lot of times the feeders are so weak because they keep them in tanks with hundreds or even thousands of them, it would pollute their water, so they don't feed them. So sometimes they're so weak. When I bought them, half of them died, but these ones are nice and strong. Hold up, hold up. It can't be ick. It's gotta be an injury. You have something on your tail. We had an ick problem, but I haven't bought anybody in months, so it can't possibly be. But looks like since I've been gone, big snail. And where's the even bigger snail? It looks like they learned their lesson about pretending to be a Jeep in the sand. So the big snails, they can't grip sand. It's not like a rock, and they kept falling over and digging themselves down where I had to help them. They didn't do that while I was gone, amazingly, after 2 weeks. Now this one didn't have a feeder at all, so these fish actually had to go 2 weeks without food. But no one died, and they're actually feeders for the crayfish. I'm surprised he didn't kill anyone. He started off with 8 of them, and now there's only 3. And there was 3 when I left, so that's interesting. But it's not like they had nothing to eat in there. There's algae and stuff that they were definitely picking at. But thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.